Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving deep into one of the most shocking developments in the Russia-Ukraine conflict, the story of how Vladimir Putin rejected peace, and how Ukraine's so-called flying sanctions turned the war into a nightmare for the Kremlin. This phrase, flying sanctions, might sound dramatic, but it perfectly describes what's happening in the skies above Russia right now. It's not just about drones or missiles anymore. It's about technology, strategy, and the price of arrogance in modern warfare. When the war began, there were multiple opportunities for peace. Western leaders, mediators, even neutral countries tried to open back-channel talks between Moscow and Kiev, but Putin refused to accept any peace deal that didn't secure his territorial ambitions. He believed Russia's strength would crush Ukraine quickly, and that the West would eventually lose interest. But what happened instead was the complete opposite. The more he rejected peace, the more isolated Russia became, and the more innovative Ukraine grew in its methods of resistance. Ukraine began to realize that fighting a conventional war against a larger, better-equipped army wasn't sustainable. So instead of matching Russia tank for tank, it turned to technology, creativity, and strategy. That's where the concept of flying sanctions was born. Ukrainian drones capable of striking deep into Russian territory, targeting energy facilities, refineries, and even key infrastructure that keeps Russia's war machine running. Every drone that hit a Russian oil depot or a military airfield became a form of economic punishment, not just a military attack, but a strike that weakened Russia's ability to fund its war. The name, flying sanctions, comes from how these drones have achieved what financial sanctions alone couldn't. Western sanctions tried to choke Russia's economy, limit its access to technology, and restrict its oil revenue. But Russia found loopholes, shifting exports to Asia and trading in alternative currencies. However, Ukraine's aerial campaign has hit at the heart of Russia's energy production, the very foundation of its economy. Each explosion represents millions of dollars lost, hours of halted production, and growing pressure on the Kremlin to explain to its people why the special operation is now hurting them directly. Putin's initial refusal to negotiate peace now looks like one of his greatest miscalculations. Early in the war, Russia still had leverage, both militarily and diplomatically. Ukraine was desperate for international support and resources. But as time passed, Ukraine not only gained the West's backing but also developed its own defense industry. These drones, small, fast, and relatively cheap, became the symbol of Ukraine's resilience. They bypassed Russia's traditional military strengths. Tanks, jets, and missile systems became less effective when a swarm of drones could outmaneuver them or strike where no human pilot dared to go. Reports have shown that Ukraine has struck oil depots hundreds of kilometers inside Russia, from Belgorod to Ryazan, even close to Moscow. Each successful attack sends shockwaves through Russia's command structure. Russian citizens who once felt distant from the war are now waking up to explosions in their own cities. For the first time in decades, Russia's heartland is under constant threat. Not from foreign armies, but from Ukrainian innovation. It's not just about military damage. It's about psychological warfare. Putin built his political image on the idea of control, of strength, and of Russia's invincibility. But these flying sanctions have destroyed that illusion. When refineries burn on Russian soil and power plants go offline, the people start questioning the narrative. How can a country that claims to dominate the battlefield fail to protect its own infrastructure? And how can a leader who rejects peace keep promising victory when the costs keep rising? Ukraine, on the other hand, has turned every Russian strike into motivation. Each missile attack on Kiev or Kharkiv has fueled Ukraine's determination to respond not with words, but with precision strikes on Russia's economy. This new phase of warfare has blurred the lines between military and economic conflict. Ukraine doesn't just target soldiers, it targets the systems that fund them. What's even more remarkable is how Ukraine managed to develop and deploy these drones despite limited resources. They're using a mix of homemade systems and modified commercial technology with support from local engineers, volunteers, and small startups. Some of these drones are built in secret workshops using 3D printed components and simple materials. Yet they're capable of traveling hundreds of kilometers, carrying explosive payloads and hitting precise targets. It's warfare on a budget, but it's proving more effective than Russia's multi-billion-dollar defense systems. Russia has responded by tightening air defenses, deploying more radar units, and trying to intercept these drones. But the cost ratio is staggering. A Ukrainian drone might cost $2,000, while the missile used to shoot it down can cost over $1 million. Even if Russia succeeds in intercepting half of them, the economic strain adds up. The drones are bleeding Russia not just in terms of infrastructure but also in finances. Meanwhile, Putin's diplomatic isolation continues to grow. His rejection of peace talks, combined with the ongoing destruction inside Russia, is starting to worry his closest allies. China, India, and other neutral countries that once showed understanding toward Moscow's position are now quietly distancing themselves. They see that the war isn't stabilizing, it's escalating, and every new Ukrainian drone strike serves as a reminder that the conflict has no safe zone anymore. Inside Russia, morale is deteriorating. Soldiers are questioning their purpose. Families of the fallen are demanding answers. The promise of a quick victory has turned into years of attrition, sanctions, and internal unrest. And now, even the Kremlin's ability to control information is slipping. Social media videos of burning refineries and destroyed air bases spread faster than the government can censor them. Russians are realizing that this isn't a faraway conflict. It's a war that's coming home. Ukraine's strategy is also reshaping how other countries view modern warfare. Nations across Europe and Asia are studying the Ukrainian drone program closely. It's become a textbook case of asymmetric warfare, how a smaller nation can challenge a much larger power using technology and adaptability. The West is learning valuable lessons too. Instead of just supplying Ukraine with weapons, they're integrating Ukrainian tactics into future defense planning. The battlefield is evolving, and Ukraine is at the forefront of that evolution. But despite all this, Putin still refuses to admit that rejecting peace was a mistake. He continues to portray the war as a fight for Russia's survival, even as his own people pay the price. His speeches grow more defiant, but his circle of trust grows smaller. Many within the Russian elite understand that the war is unwinnable. They know that Ukraine's drones are not just attacking oil depots, they're attacking the illusion of Russian dominance. And for Ukraine, every successful drone strike is more than just retaliation. It's justice. It's payback for Bucha, for Mariupol, for every missile that's fallen on Ukrainian homes. These strikes carry a message that no matter how large the enemy, innovation and resilience can turn the tide. Ukraine's flying sanctions are not only punishing Russia militarily, but also showing the world that courage and creativity can overcome raw power. The economic damage inside Russia is becoming impossible to hide. Energy production has dropped in several regions. Export revenues are shrinking, and insurance companies are pulling back from Russian shipping routes due to constant risks. Even Russian civilians are feeling the pinch through rising prices and fuel shortages in some areas. What started as a war of expansion has turned into a war of survival, for both sides, but especially for the Kremlin. At the same time, Ukraine continues to strengthen its partnerships with Western nations. Countries like the US, the UK, and Germany are investing in Ukraine's drone technology, seeing it as a critical part of future defense systems. Joint development programs are already underway, combining Western engineering with Ukrainian battlefield experience. The results are drones that are faster, smarter, and deadlier. This partnership ensures that Russia's nightmare in the skies is far from over. In rejecting peace, Putin has cornered himself. He can't withdraw without appearing weak, and he can't win without destroying his country's economy. The flying sanctions are accelerating that downfall. Every day, another refinery burns, another supply chain collapses, another soldier loses faith. The once mighty image of the Russian war machine is crumbling under the weight of its own arrogance. Ukraine's message is simple. Peace could have been an option, but now, after so much destruction, it has to be earned. Kiev is no longer begging for negotiations. It's dictating the terms on the battlefield. The drones that hum through Russian skies are not just weapons. They're symbols of independence, defiance, and a warning to all aggressors. The world is watching closely. What's happening now in Ukraine and Russia isn't just a regional conflict. It's a transformation in how wars are fought and how power is measured. Drones, cyber attacks, and precision strikes have replaced tanks and trenches. Sanctions now fly with wings, and in that new reality, Putin's rejection of peace may go down as one of the most catastrophic strategic blunders in modern history. As Russia struggles to rebuild what the flying sanctions have destroyed, Ukraine continues to innovate, adapt, and strike. This is no longer a defensive war. It's a statement of sovereignty and survival. And every explosion on Russian soil echoes the same message. Peace cannot exist under tyranny, and justice will always find a way to fly. So, as we look ahead, one thing becomes clear. This war isn't just about territory anymore. It's about the future of warfare, the balance of global power, and the price of pride. Putin may have rejected peace, but Ukraine has found something far more powerful, the will to fight smarter, not harder, and that, more than anything, may be what makes Russia truly pay.